And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on Citizen Extra. We want to take you straight to the Senate now, where Stephen Letoo is standing by. And good morning to you, Stephen. Obviously, even though we are anticipating a decision from the Supreme Court, other elected leaders will be taking their oaths of office and beginning work proper. Tell us about preparations for that and the meeting that's taking place at the Senate this morning.
It's true, Ann Kiguta, like you've said, as others await, as we await the ruling, the presidential ruling at the Supreme Court, it's business as usual here in the sides of Parliament. That is the other arm of government, that is the legislature. And today, like yesterday when we were in the National Assembly, induction of new members was taking place. And today we are at the Senate, where the induction of new senators, both elect and those who have been nominated, is being done in the tent behind me. So a lot is happening. Remember, 47 senators were elected in the just concluded general election, but 20 of them got nominated to put that total number to be 67. And so those are the senators that will sit in the Senate chambers beginning tomorrow, when they will be sworn in. And so preparations are ongoing in terms of putting all the logistics in place to ensure that the swearing in of the 67 senators is conducted tomorrow. But quickly, if I can just take you inside where the senators are, having their induction. First, they begin with a security check, of course, to ensure that this place is secure, and so every senator who is coming and his team are being taken through a thorough security screening. And so from there, we head inside, and there you have it. These are the senators who are being inducted ahead of tomorrow's swearing in, where they are expected to be sworn in from 9 a.m. And so, like you can see, it's a beehive of activities inside this particular tent, where we begin with the ushers who are ushering in the new members, because we have both new members and the old members. But on my left, when you begin, you have the welcome desk registration. This is putting the face to the name. Remember, what the Senate has is only names of all the elected senators, but they do not have their faces. And so this is where they come and put their names, their faces into the names. And the next is where the person who is just being taken through biodata forms is the Senator Fokwale Madzayo. Is being taken to that. Maybe, as you can see, is just filling the forms. Maybe probably tell us how you feel the process is going on, Senator.
The process is going on very well, and everything is under control. So I don't think there should be anything to worry about.
Excited about tomorrow's swearing in?
Well, as usual. It's not exciting, but we'll be there.
Thank you. That is Senator Madzayo. And so a lot is happening around, as you can see. If we can just quickly walk to that particular end. Just before then, this is the Sergeant at Arms desk and the Safety and Security desk. The Sergeant at Arms desk is where the new senators are taken through what they term as, familiarization with the rules, the security rules, particularly of the House, on how they are supposed to operate. In terms, there are a lot of security issues surrounding the House, and so that is basically what the new senator, probably this is a new senator, that is why he's being very keen to ensure he gets what is going on. And so that is, of course, going on. And so there is also a lot of lobbying going on. From there, we have the photo booth, and this is where the senators come and put their faces into pictures form. And so that from here you fill your names and you come to this end where you get to sit, and we have a photographer there who takes all the senators. And so from them, the senators sit, and they just take me a photo. And this is exactly the process how it goes. The senator sits, is taken a photo, and then that particular passport size photo is taken into the Senate or parliamentary storage or archive, and that is where now you get to know when you click or maybe you log in into the chambers, that is what happens. And so again, a lot happening here in terms of just going all the way to ensure that they get the correct forms. They are also bringing their forms. For example, example, this is the Human Resource Department, Human Resource Briefing and Entitlements. This is where probably senators are briefed about the order of parliament and how their social welfare will be taken care of. And so, as you can see, that is also very important. There you have a newcomer senator, that is Senator Ephraim Maina, is also getting some briefing from that particular end. As you can see, those are the forms. He is having his identity card, is being returned, just getting to get that complete briefing. There is also the other section, the following section is pensions. We are having the pension section, and from the pension section, we go to the other section. Of course, this is now towards the end. We have the ICT department where the fingerprints of all the senators is taken. This is the senator for Vihiga, Senator George Haniri, being taken. He is a second-term member, just also being tried to be taken through that particular process. We are having a lot of senators coming here, but most importantly, and the battle for the Speaker of the Senate is also at fever pitch. We are seeing already campaigns ongoing here at this particular podium. For instance, we get to see Senator Wilfred Machage. We are seeing Farah Maalim. They are all here. We are having also the senators who are here, like Senator Susan Kihika, the senator-elect for Nakuru, all trying to do the lobbying that is required for them to marshal enough numbers ahead of tomorrow's election. And so a lot is going on. When you just see there, that is Baringo Senator-elect Gideon Moi is also having his time. That is the SACCOs department, where senators are being briefed on their savings, the SACCOs that they're supposed to do. Of course, Senator Gideon Moi is the second-term member of the Senate, and so he is well conversant to these issues. But some things at one point has changed, and so that is the briefing that is required. And so, and like you can see, it's a lot of activities just ahead of tomorrow, because this is a pre-swearing-in induction for all the members. We are having new faces, absolutely new faces, and that is ongoing here in this particular area. And so this is the media department now, probably the end of the induction of members of parliament, the relations between the media in the Senate, as well as the new members, as well as the entire House. What we're having now is the senator of the county of senator-elect of Narok County, Ledama Olekina, trying to have his final word with the media department before he is cleared for tomorrow's swearing in. The last thing you're cleared here at the Senate is being given a car pass that you're supposed to access the parliament precincts tomorrow. And so that is just a picture of what is happening here in the Senate chambers. And maybe if the senator-elect for Narok can just tell us something, how he feels about this entire process. This is, of course, the media department. How has it been all the way from the start to the end?
Leto, thank you very much. I want to thank these fellows here for such a good work. The process has been very educative, and I think it's important. And I think any serious person has got to go through this process to be able to understand things, to be able to understand how a Hansard report is put together, to be able to understand how to research for bills. You know, there's a department here, apart from my own welfare, that shows me how to research for serious bills, how to research for any motions if I want to defend, support, or oppose it. So it's been an excellent opportunity for us to learn, so that we can be able to serve our people back at home. Looking forward for tomorrow's swearing in, there has been issues to do with not attending by the members of the opposition. I will leave that for people to answer. Okay, but I think it's important for us all to be together, and I think it's important for us to support the separation of powers. So I will leave it at that point. Thank you. That is the senator-elect for the county of Narok, Ledama Olekina. And so I want just to leave you quickly and with a list of all those who have been cleared to contest for both the Speaker of the Senate and the Deputy Speaker's slots. For instance, we are having current Speaker Ekwe Thurom, who is keen to defend his seat. Ken Lusaka has also been shortlisted to contest in tomorrow's contest for the Speaker. He is being deemed as the Jubilee Party's favorite. And we are also having Dr. Wilfred
Fred Machage, who is right there. He is doing his lobbying. He is the former senator for the county of Migori. We are also having the Farah Maalim. Farah Maalim is being deemed as an opposition frontier, and so he is being fronted by the National Super Alliance to contest for the Speaker's position, and so others, 7 of them, have been cleared to contest for the Senate Speaker. But for the Deputy Speaker's position, and we are having Susan Kihika, the Senator-elect for Nakuru. We are having Senator Kimani Wamatangi, the Senator-elect for Kiambu, as well as we are also having Irungu Kangata, the Senator-elect for Muranga. By last evening, Johnson Sakaja, the Senator-elect for Nairobi, withdrew his candidature. And so we, our sources here, our ears here and there, telling us that Susan Kihika could actually be the next Deputy Speaker of the Senate, going by the lineup that the Jubilee Party is trying to sell in the Senate. And so that is exactly what we are bringing you here in the Senate. Remember, it's just preparation, gearing to tomorrow's swearing in of all the members. And after swearing in, we will be having the election of the Speaker. And so the swearing in ceremony will be overseen by the clerks of both the Senate and the National Assembly. That process, Anne, kicks off tomorrow at 9 a.m. Back to you in studio.
Thanks, Leto, for that report. And of course, remember the parliamentary group meetings kick off in the next 30 or so minutes, and we'll be hoping to take you live both to the NASA and Jubilee PGs. But before then, let's do a little more recapping for you of the presidential petitions. And there was a bit of fireworks at the Supreme Court last evening as the 3 legal teams representing Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga and the IEBC differed over the findings of scrutiny and the forms of the service. Here's a recap of the submissions on the audit report.
2 reports that the court has accepted, which are the ones officially sanctioned by the court, are 2 smoking guns. I was adding 2 more smoking guns, but according to your direction, I've pulled them out. But I think 2 smoking guns are as good as even 1 smoking gun.
Yes, because you see, if each party decides to do what they want,
yes,
we can't have order. We cannot have order in this end.
Yeah, you know, my lord, time was running out.
Yes.
We thought we may not even have the 10 minutes, so we're just being diligent.
Okay.
And just repeating what the registrar has said. Nothing additional. So, my lord, I'll pull it out, but conclude by saying that the other thing that I will request the court, that now we have been through this process of scrutiny, that, my lords, you'd ask for some of these forms which are now properly before the court, including the Form 34Bs. And, my lord, for you to examine those forms. And you'll find that some of those forms, or a big number of those forms, were not the standardized forms. They were not the forms that were prepared in accordance with the contract between the first and second respondent with the printers in Dubai. So that is a matter that is available to the court, is evidence which is available to the court. And our case has been proven that forgery, alteration of documents, trickery and deception has been used in various ways, including the one in which the server was used. And one can even question why that server is there in France and not here, to the extent that when France is asleep, we can't wake up. And, my lord, it is a sorry state of affairs, and these reports fully support our position that your lordships, and we pray you should declare the election of the 3rd respondent, Uhuru Kenyatta, as invalid and not in accordance with the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mwite.
My lords, may I start on behalf of the first and second respondents.
You have also 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Yes.
May I start by paying compliments to the registrar of this honorable court, who at very short notice, severe time constraints,
has been able, working with the IT experts appointed by this court, to produce 2 reports which should be read and seen by your lordships in the context of the limited time. Satisfactory reports. Reports that say the opposite of what the Honorable Orengo is suggesting they say. Although you also have limited time to go through these reports, but I urge you that you go through them, and where it is necessary, you compare the information here with the forms 34As which have been filed with the court, including forms 34B. Well, you will see from this first report, the blue one, that the registrar is complaining. She convened a meeting of the parties at 4 p.m. on the very day that she was told to commence this work. The petitioners did not turn up until 6:30. It's all captured in her report. You will see at page 10 the registrar saying, however, as the process went on, they introduced a new checklist. That's petitioner, which is a modus operandi. Well, let me make a few points here with regard to this report. One, at the time that the returning officer for the presidential elections announced the results, he had received all the scanned copies 34B. Let me repeat here that Form 34B for each constituency is the aggregate of Form 34As, copies of which you have here. When you are being asked to hold that the elections were not conducted in accordance with the law, you can only do that by looking at what the law requires with regard to Forms 34Bs and 34As. Well, when you look at the regulation 79 2A with regard to Forms 34A and regulation 83A with regard to Form 34B, you will find that the requirement is for those forms to be signed. And actually the format of the prescribed form, you will see it in the schedule to the regulations. So there is no requirement in the regulations about any security features. So you cannot be asked to disregard the forms because of security features. The regulations are clear as to what should be in the forms. And Lord, if you turn to page 2, scrutiny of Forms 34Bs. It's not paginated, but it's schedule 7 in this blue form. With regard to the constituencies in respect of which the forms are said not to have been signed by the returning officers. 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them. If you look at the column serial number, the form had a serial number. If you look at the next column, watermark, the forms had watermarks. Where the next column is returning officer signed, that is the ones that are not signed. But the next column, agent, you will find they were signed by the agents. Handing over, we've already gone through it because that was under the old regime. Those are the only 5 forms which were not signed by the returning officer. They had the security features, they had the serial numbers, and you'll be able to see the number of voters in those particular polling stations. In fact, when you compare, you will see that the majority of them actually voted for the petition.
Excuse me, Mr. Muitre.
Yes.
With regard to what you said about regulations 79 and 83,
yeah,
that there were no security features required on these forms?
It is not a requirement of the law.
It is not a requirement of the law?
No.
But did these forms have security features?
Yes.
So meaning, if they had, they all should have?
Abundance of caution. The commission, out of abundance of caution,
yes,
are the ones who designed the security features.
Okay.
Yes. And my Lord, we have explanations. It's just that there wasn't enough time. Because when you scan a copy, you can actually lose some of the security features. But all I'm saying,
Mr. Muitre, before
is that the forms 34... Yes.
Before you move.
Yes, my Lord.
How do you explain Nyali in that form? And the serial number, or lack of it?
Yes, there is no serial number, that's admitted.
What does that mean?
If I had time, I would take instructions. But if you go to the next column, my Lord,
yes,
it says it is signed by 2 agents, ODM and Jubilee. So that the next question, my Lord, why were the agents of ODM and Jubilee signing the form for Nyali? So, they are signed. Is it reasonable to expect a party who has signed a form to come here and disown the form? Look, the simple point submission I'm making here is that the forms 34B were in possession of the national returning officer for the presidential vote, and he was perfectly right in declaring the 3rd respondent duly elected. Lords, with regard to the forms about access, again, when you read this report on IT, on access to the system, you will find that in terms of paragraph 72 of your ruling, we availed all the orders of this code, the items that we are asked to avail. You will see that we availed them. We even gave a soft copy of the logs, which the petitioner did not want to take. And my Lord, we set up the link, passwords we are given. My Lord, you will see from this report that the company that we were relying on as a commission for this system is NTT in America. The servers were in Europe, but the company NTT is in America. And you know the time difference is 8 hours. My Lord, can I have some peaceful environment to make my submission?
You said who are in
NTT, America.
Yeah.
They are the ones who are contracted by Shaft. No, saffron. Saffron. And my lord, the point is this, after giving the link, giving the access, because of the super security features in this system, it took time to access. In simple language, it's like mtego wa panya in a city park, as it used to be. You know, when you go to the door, you can't get to the center until you go around all the parts. It takes time to get round the firewalls and access. And that was a challenge. And that was being set up by our service providers. So it took time, not us refusing. And the fact that it took such a long time is evidence of the security features in the system, which then demolishes the suggestion that anybody would have hacked. And you will have the opportunity to study this report as to whether indeed your experts themselves saw any evidence of hacking. So you cannot be asked, my lords, to nullify a presidential election on the basis of allegations, on the basis of suspicions, my lord. No one is challenging the numbers, the votes. Votes are not being challenged, my lord. What we are being told is this did not have a watermark, this did not. But you have not been told even now that the figures in any of Form 34B, that any of the figures in Forms 34A were wrong or cooked. You have them here, and even with the constraints of time, look, your staff, your registrar can go through them, my lords. And once you are satisfied about the figures, the sovereign will of the people of Kenya was captured in Forms 34A, Forms 34B, and Form 34C, my lord, was completed. That was the one that was completed most transparently, because everybody was able to follow the chairman of the commission signing that form in the presence of all the media. There's absolutely nothing wrong, no evidence. And the fact that this court, as the registrar, to do that limited scrutiny in terms of time, does not shift the burden of proof. When you retire to consider your judgment, you will ask yourself, I submit, whether the petitioners have presented this court with any cogent evidence that these elections were rigged. By who, when, and how? Have you been presented with that evidence? All they've been talking about is this technicality and that technicality. But Lord, the results announced captured and represent the will of the Kenyan people. My Lord, it is a fact that the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which was given on the eve of the elections, presented certain challenges. For example, my Lord the Chief Justice kept asking, those figures that we were seeing on the screen, what were they? My Lord, it's necessary to distinguish between the public portal and the screen. They are different, they are not the same. And therefore, the rule information in terms of how the people have voted is what was being beamed on the screen. And my Lord, following your Lordship's judgment, given that this judgment of the Court of Appeal came on the eve of the elections, the Commission will take steps to improve on how communication of the results should be, to harmonize the public portal and the screen, perhaps to wait for the form to be received instead of the results data being keyed in on these KIMs and being transmitted and then being relayed immediately. Perhaps wait until Form 34 is completed so that as you feed it into the public portal, which is not accessible by a majority of Kenyans, you also screen it so it can be picked up by the media so that the Kenyan people can be able to follow, because they are entitled to follow. The Commission was trying to comply with the Court of Appeal order that removed the issue of probational reports and at the same time respect the constitutional right of the Kenyan people to have information as quickly as possible. This is a petition that stands for dismissal. And as I sit down, this is one of the petitions that we ask you dismiss with the costs.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mwite.
Thank you, my Lord.
Yes, Mr. Ngate.
Thank you, my Lord. My Lord, within the time we've had, we'd wish to discuss or submit and limit our submissions to the first document, annexure number 4, the scrutiny of Forms 34B. My Lord, I start off with the constituency Kisauni is indicated as if the returning officer did not sign, but it was signed by the agents. Our comment on that is this: please verify with the 34B that was submitted to the court, because we have looked at a copy and the copy is signed by the returning officer. There could be errors in this document, but it's important the court to verify. And as the court is verifying, allow me to say this: the petitioner had 56,000 votes as compared to the third respondent who had 17,000 votes. And I don't think I need to say anything more. That is a constituency where it is the petitioner who had more votes than the third respondent. The next is Nyali. In Nyali, again, it's indicated returning officer did not sign, but 2 agents, one of ODM and Jubilee, have signed. Once again, my lords, I request the court, before making any decision on it, to verify with the 34B that was submitted to the court.
Where are you reading?
Scrutiny of Form 34B, Schedule 4. Schedule 4.
Schedule 4, okay.
I am now at the middle of the page, Mombasa, Nyali. And as regards Nyali, my lords, the person who garnered more votes is the petitioner at 41,000 against the third respondent with 19,000. Once again, I do not need to amplify any further. If that vote was to be discounted, to whose prejudice that would be. And finally, Likoni, it would appear all these problems are in our coastal town. In Likoni is again indicated as if returning officer did not sign, but 8 agents signed. In Likoni, my lords, petitioner got 38,000 votes as contrasted to the third respondent who managed 10,000 votes. again, the consequence should be as clear as day follows night. My lords, apart from that, most other 34 Bs have been signed by returning officers and by the agents. A great majority of 291 34 Bs have all been signed by returning officers and by the agents. What does that demonstrate? It demonstrates two things. First and foremost, my lords, the fallacy that many 34As were missing is untrue. All the 34As were used to generate 34 Bs. And we know that because from the polling station, the 34As would go to the constituency for collation, verification, and compilation of 34B. Next point, my lords, we left this court with a very sensational submission that IEBC took some time to go and now correct all these documents. Correct the documents so that they are all very well collected and well presented. That cannot be true because you see there are still some errors in the documents. So that sensational comment goes through the window. Third point, my lords, there is no allegation that the votes in 34A differ with the votes in 34B. There is no numerical difference. There are some instances, my lords, and I think we all need to see those instances, where due to certain difficulties, for example, Isiolo South, the 34B is not signed because the printer broke down. RO had to travel 150 kilometers to prepare that document. I am reading what the registrar has captured. The comment, while that form was not filled by the agents, is because the printer broke down, and it's all indicated there. My lords, in our submission, this fortifies what we have said all along. Fortifies what we have said all along, that this was a very credible election within the parameters of conducting an election. My lords, I go to the IT, and before I go to the IT, my lords, the final comment on the scrutiny, there is no allegation that the vote announced at the polling station differs from the vote in 34A. So with all those, my lords, the only conclusion one can reach in my submission is that 34A as well as the 34B correctly reflects the votes cast in favor of all the presidential candidates. And I repeat here, my lords, that the unreformed 34Bs that on the face of this appear to have a problem are actually where it is our political opponent who had more votes than the third respondent. So we would not wish those to be taken away, because that to us is purely a clerical error. If the returning officer did not sign, it was a clerical error. but we tend to think that actually the returning officer must have signed for the agents to have signed. And we see in one of them, 8 agents have signed. My lords, I go to the IT. The IT report has a few errors, and we request the registrar, in the fullness of time, to compare this report with the handwritten notes that were done by our representative. Because in certain instances, what is here does not marry with what our representatives were requested to sign for. And they signed for each and every part of this report. I start off, my lords, at page 7. Page 7, letter H. And then towards the bottom of that page is court-appointed IT experts. Documents submitted were not certified. My lords, the note our representative made is that the certificates were provided. Certificates were provided. On the next page, my lords, right on top, again is the expert who was working on behalf of the registrar, right on top. Again, there is the comment, documents submitted were not certified. That is incorrect because the certificates were provided. And as a matter of fact, the annexures to this document are the report or the document that was signed by our experts, and they actually said on that, we have seen the certificates have been provided. Maybe because of the hurry of doing this, there was no time to edit this report. My lord, at page 10, we start having a bigger problem. At the middle of the page, 3.14, our expert has instructed me that where it is indicated against the third respondent that there was no comment, that is incorrect. The correct position is that our representative was satisfied that the soft copy fulfilled the order. So as against the no comment, the correct position is that our representative was satisfied that a soft copy fulfilled the order. And equally at the bottom of that page, the same position holds true, that our representative has signed against the schedule that the court, the registrar provided, that we were satisfied with the order. I turn to page 12. Page 12, about the scanned and transmitted copies of Forms 34A and 34B. And the comment I have from our technical team is that...
My Lord, I was not allowed to put a document. Mr. Ngatian is now giving evidence. Mr. Ngatian, my learned friend, is now giving evidence of what his experts have told him, and is not part of the report. I don't think he can be allowed to do that. He can comment on it, but he cannot rebut the report on the basis of what he has been told, because that is not his duty as counsel to give evidence.
Let me repeat, maybe I wasn't clear to my learned senior. I say that there are annexures to this report. The annexure is a document that our representative has written handwritten notes.
It's not here, my lord. We have a report which you have been given by the court, and that annexure was a strange document which we don't have.
No,
we don't have it.
Maybe the judge could indicate.
Maybe there's something happening somewhere.
Finish off, Mr. Ngatian.
Yes. I'll finish off, my lords, because I was coming to the conclusion at page 13, and our comment on the conclusion is that there are 3 comments we'll make on that conclusion, because in one respect we differ with it. My Lords, the first respondent, that is IEBC, notified us, as well as the petitioner, that the read-only access would be made available today at 5 p.m. Petitioner requested for admin rights at that meeting. That to us was beyond the order that was made by this court. Admin rights, my Lord, is not something that parties were given. We were given read-only access. We cannot expand the terms of the order because it becomes now suitable for one party to expand the terms of the order. The next one, my Lords, is our disagreement with the sentence reading partial access became available after the meeting had been called. First respondent had indicated if granted more time. First respondent did not request for time. On the contrary, the person who requested for more time is the petitioner. My Lords, apart from that, we have no difficulties with the other contents of this report. It is a fair report given the time and the urgency that the matter had to be attended to. And once again, my Lords, it is our submission that this report fortifies what we have said all along, that indeed this was a fair election where integrity of the vote was protected to the last, as far as humanly possible. I conclude. The totality of this exercise, my Lords, would establish beyond any argument that contrary to what has been a recurring theme about missing Forms 34A, nothing like that ever happened. All the 34As have been accounted for to the last one, and they were accounted for at the right time at the constituency level. Once they were accounted for, they were captured in 34B, and the 34B is the forms that were used at the National Tallying Center for compilation of 34C. In those circumstances, my Lords, there would be no ground in our submission for any challenge to the result that was announced. Thank you very much, my Lords.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of my colleagues to thank you for the cooperation you have shown throughout. I also want to thank you for the courtesy that you have had for each other and even for the court. We didn't have any acrimonious exchanges, and that is the way it should be. I want to thank you for all that. That brings us to the end of the hearing.
And that's the hearing that was yesterday. And of course, as you know, the judges are now in retreat to write up their determination in this matter, which shall be delivered Friday. We're taking a short break on Citizen Extra, but when we return, remember our eyes appeal at the Senate. Stephen Leto will be joining us with an update as we look at the key races that both houses of Parliament, National Assembly and Senate, intend to be engaging in the next 24 hours or so as they both seek to pick House leadership. We'll also be looking at parliamentary group meetings both for Jubilee and NASA. And in studio, my guests ready to break down the issues that will form the backdrop against which the 12th Parliament will be sitting. Right next to me, Mark Bichachi. In the middle is Gabriel Muthuma, and next to him, Brian Mutie. We have a great conversation lined up for you in a very short while. Stay with us on Citizen Extra.